Okay, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Willard Harris. I'm the chair of the Pan Am Education Panel, as well as the chair of the Pan Am Competitions Committee. We've been asked by Field Hockey Canada to put on a series of webinars for the benefit of you in Canada to help you in your development, technical, along the officials' lines. And I just want to, before I get into that, going further, I just want to ask you to mute your mics, please. Um, Roger will, the presenter will let you know if and when you can, ask questions, and you can perhaps use your raise your hand feature under the people section of Blue Jeans, for those of you who are not familiar, to raise your hand, and Laura Macchiotti, our event coordinator, would prompt us. So again, welcome to this Pan Am Hockey Federation sponsored webinar on the impacts of thing. It's been done by Roger St. Rose, who is should be well known to many. He is the chair of the Pan Am Umpiring Committee. He's also a vice president of the Trinidad and Tobago Hockey Board, and this webinar is being conducted for us in his capacity as the Trinidad and Tobago Hockey Board, who has done this for not only Trinidad but some of the Caribbean islands, and we thought that instead of reinventing the wheel, that we'll ask the TTHB to facilitate this course on our behalf. And before we get into the actual nitty-gritty of the session, we have with us Laura Macchiotti, who is, as I said previously, the event coordinator of Pan Am. Some may call her the unofficial CEO, or she is the lady of business, coordinating all the PAF event stuff, all the organization, and reporting to the board. We also have a few familiar faces from Canada that I am very familiar with from the officiating level, both umpiring and technical officials. So welcome to you guys, and welcome to you all to this session. I want to give the opportunity to Laurie, who is your lead, to say a few words, of introduction from the Field Hockey Canada's end, and then we will hand over to Roger, who will be able to take you through this evening's session. So thank you.
Thank you, Willard. So hello, everyone. Hopefully I've met many of you by now, and I am the chair of the Field Hockey Canada Officials Committee. So we look at umpiring and officials across Canada, education and development pathways. So this work, I would like to thank Willard and Laura for helping us organize this event, and hopefully the first of many. So I look forward to continue working with Pan Am Hockey on developing education for Canadian officials. As I mentioned, I'm the chair of the officials committee, and I'm happy to have worked with Roger, and I'm not sure if Rhea is still joining us as well. I've worked with Roger in the past, and I look forward to all of you learning from him, because he is quite experienced and well respected, and I think he'll bring an interesting perspective to this presentation. So if you have questions after this, then you wanted to get in touch with me, you can definitely do so through your provincial sport organization. They all know how to get in touch with me. So off to you, Roger.
You're muted, Roger. Roger, you're muted.
Okay, thank you, Laura, to keep me in check. So who will be the moderator, Laura? Laurie or Laura?
Laura.
Laura.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay. So you all have to keep me in check in terms of timing. Sometimes I tend to get very involved in what I'm doing, and I might speak a little fast. If I'm speaking fast or too fast for you all, please stop me or indicate that I'm going too fast and slow down. Right? So you all need to do that. And you all could ask questions during this discussion. I have no problem because most of the things you all would know already. You all will be involved in it. So this is just to sensitize you all to certain things, what you might sometimes might have overlooked, and you need to start looking or concentrating on some of the issues to understand the whole concept of what the FIH and by extension PAF is attempting to do for a wonderful sport, right? So we must stakeholders in the game in terms of that. So that's basically what I would want to ask you all to do. I need to have a exchange of ideas and discussions when we're talking on this topic. So don't be afraid to have an opinion, have a different opinion, whatever you want to have, because we all will learn by this in our continent, right? So basically what I'm looking at to do is modern hockey and how it impacts on officiating. Or we could look at the other way, how officiating impacts on modern hockey, however you want to look at it. But this is basically what I want to speak about today, all right? Okay, let's forget this thing. Right, so this is about me. Basically, I played hockey for a number of years. I played Pan Am games, CAC games, whatever games I played. Then after I went on to umpiring, became a World Cup and Olympic umpire. I did the 1996 Atlanta Games. I did a number of other tournaments around the world. And then I retired and became a FIH umpires manager. I'm still one at this point in time. I did a number of tournaments around the world. Over the years, I'm also a FIH accredited trainer. Now, these are umpiring. I'm a member of the FIH officials committee. And basically, and the last but not least, what normally pays me, my salary, I'm not turning at law. The hockey takes more of my time than that. So that's what I am, basically who I am. A little snippet of who I am, right? So I attempted to get some of the Canadian officials. I couldn't get every official online, but I tried to get some of the things. Some of them I'm very close to. I've been either officiated or worked with them in the administration of PAF. So I think I'm aware of a lot of the Canadians. And in fact, when I became an international umpire in the Jurassic period, my first overseas, I got some feedback. My first international appointment overseas as a quote-unquote neutral umpire was at a tournament in Canada, in Toronto, and somewhere around Scarborough. And I think at that point in time, that was my first appointment. So I'm very, very close to the Canadians. I have wonderful memories of umpiring in Toronto, Montreal. I've never been to Vancouver, but I am very close in terms of with you all. I think the topics what we're going to be dealing with is hockey has modernized, if it's a fact or not. The key rule changes since 2000, of changes to the technical officials, the technical aspect of the game, and also that takes into consideration umpires, the reasons for rule changes, and rule interpretation and skill development. So those are the basic wide topics we're going to be discussing. I can't delve too deep into some of them, so I might just sensitize you all and to start you all thinking and moving forward with this, what we're talking about. So this is one of the things here. Hockey has been modernizing since 2012, right? Now, if we agree with that or we don't agree with it, why do you think that is so, if we agree with it? And what is the significance of that happening, really being pushed around to 2012? We had some changes prior to that, some rule changes. Every so often we're getting some change to the rules of the game. But in terms of moving from just changing the rules of the game to modernizing this game in a big, big way, than the normal way we're doing it, right? It was basically started in 2012. But what is the reason why that happened? And what was the significance of that happening? Anybody knew that or know what this? Or have an opinion?
Just raise your hand.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think it's the excitement of the game and trying to promote it to other sports and also trying to get more goals in a game. What say you?
Right? Okay. That's a good point. But okay. Anybody else have an opinion about that? If you believe that really happened. Okay,
Roger, there's a
okay.
comment on it. Roger, there's a comment on the chat says to stay in the Olympic Games.
Okay, that's a good right. Okay. I can't read the chat, so somebody has to read the chat for me. I would be able to read it.
I'm doing that.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's a good point. Yes. Who said that?
Scott Davis.
Okay. And
There's also better TV presentation.
Okay. But I think Scott hit it on the head. You come in 2012, London had the Olympics, and they had put on one of the best organized hockey competition that they had. Wide spectator sport. It was a resounding success for the English and hockey in terms of spectator and participation and things like that. But coming out of the IOC, the International Olympic Committee meeting, there was a big furor that came about out of that because there was a decision thereafter to say that they needed to move hockey out. Hockey was being threatened to be moved out of being an Olympic sport for a number of reasons. Right? You remember that big thing they had when they saying they wanted to move hockey out of the Olympics. And there's a number of reasons, a number of arguments why and for and all kinds of things that people are saying what it's for. Anybody know what really was the reason why they wanted hockey out of the Olympics as an Olympic sport after being so quote unquote successful in the London Olympics in terms of what they had put on? What were the reasons? What were the challenges that hockey posed for the Olympics as being an Olympic sport? Anybody know what the reason why? Or could fathom a guess? Think about it. Look at the other sports that play in the Olympics.
Roger, there are some on the chat. Scott Davis, not appealing for TV. Alex Myers, loads of athletes. Can't see the ball on TV. Allison, too expensive due to numbers of participants from Keeley. Too many whistles. Jen. These are some of the comments coming.
Right, and that's brilliant.
Not understanding of the rules or simplicity of the rules.
Brilliant. And that is some of the major issues we had. Because if you look at the Olympics, look at hockey that has been played in the Olympics, how many participants, how many participants and teams that take part in the Olympics under hockey. You have a number of players or participants for one team. Look at the number of national federations that are represented in that tournament, as opposed to how many compete to get into that tournament. It's not worldwide. If you look at football or soccer, how many teams, how many countries compete to be in the final 24 whatever at the World Games? How many in hockey that happened? It's only a few countries really that participate to qualify for the Olympics. The other thing is the television. It wasn't good for television. It wasn't appealing for television. And if you're not appealing to television, you're not going to get sponsors. You're not going to get people looking at it, and for sponsors to sell the product. So therefore, television not going to come there, sponsors not going to come there, and therefore they have a problem with the sport. The other thing is, hockey wasn't in the modern era. People using social media, the internet, Instagram, all these different things to follow their particular sport. How many participants, how many ordinary persons were following hockey on the social media? If you're not following people on the social media, that means you have an issue with sponsorship, television rights, whatever rights you need to have. People getting to spend money and people to promote whatever product they have in. So that means would have been a problem with our particular sport again. The other thing they had a problem with is they had a massive amount of athletes coming to Olympics, and in terms of the medals, was only few medals. How much? 3 medals, and the amount of people were taking part in that particular sport and things like that. But in the main, what hockey wasn't doing, they weren't spectator-centric. They weren't fan-centric. In the Olympics, one of the criteria they used to judge the sport to stay in the Olympics is how many people follow the sports, how many people go to the social media, how many people actually follow. And in addition, how many non-players, people who are really not into the sport as players, but more as spectators, attract themselves to the particular sport. And if you go back and look at hockey, that is one of the issues of hockey. Hockey is a traditional sport, a family-centered sport, and you have few people who do not play the sport coming to watch hockey or stay in hockey. And that was one of our issues, right? And there's what started the trend in terms of the FIH attempting to start to put things in place to roll back some of those challenges that hockey posed as a sport to remain in the Olympics. So think about it. After 2012, a lot of things started to happen. We had the Hockey World League 1 and 2 and 3 and whatever it is, and a number of things the FIH attempted to do where they wanted to spread the game around the world and get more people to participate, television rights and things like that. That's some of the things that impacted on the FIH attempting to modernize the particular sport. Right. So one of the questions I need to ask you all is this. So that's what we're talking about, right? So we understand that. What about your thoughts about the changes of the rules? The changes from 2012 going forward. You're comfortable with them? You're not comfortable for them as a hockey player? What do you feel about those changes? Really realistically think about it.
Nothing yet.
You can talk, you can talk sometimes. Something can say something. I can give you my opinion. As a player, as an umpire, as an administrator, I have trauma at nights and sleeping when all these changes can give you. To tell that. Because I'm a purist. I'm a purist for hockey. I felt some of the things they wanted to do took away from what hockey really is.
I agree. I totally agree. Roger, you there?
I know some other people thought.
Roger, you there?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
All right, listen. The long corner. I don't understand why it is they stop that. The crashing it into the circle, even if they pull it back to the 23. Why can't you just smash it into the circle? Like hockey is dangerous. It don't matter when you hit the ball in the circle, it coming in. You know, that was being a striker.
Yes.
I like that. I like a ball coming in unknowing, and maybe you might get a touch on it, or as a deflection. But now, there's so many safety rules, which I get. I understand them, but being from the past, I don't like the change. You guys can talk if you want.
Okay, so you're purist.
Other comments,
You want to know it. Yes.
Other comments. Well, one was the safety protection for players, and the other one was that the changes have been good for the game, have made the game more attractive.
Right. I want somebody to drill down and explain that aspect of what they just said. It's more attractive. It's what it is. What do you mean by that? That sentence.
Actually, what it takes.
Yes. What is the meaning?
Ashley Rodriguez, can you unmute your mic and speak? Nope.
They're afraid to speak.
What I mean by that is that it's easier for the spectators to follow the game.
Right.
It gives the defending team, the attacking team equal chances.
Right.
That's what's made it more attractive for the game. It's easier for the people to follow the game.
Right. Right. So therefore, are you a purist in terms of them, or you are there on the cutting edge in order to keep the game in a particular way, for the game to evolve in terms of that? How you feel about
I mean the game should evolve, and because that's going to attract the sponsorship, that's going to keep the game alive.
Right. Okay.
There are a couple more.
Okay. Yes.
Person liked how they have continually evolved. A rule is introduced, then it evolves. Another one is 10 ball above shoulder limit. Also, they believe is something, I guess, good. The flow of the game improves, which makes it play.
Which makes it what?
The flow of the game improves, which makes it better to play and to watch.
Right.
And then there is also less of a concern around smaller technical issues and encouraging more flow.
Okay.
There's also shootouts, and self-start makes the game exciting.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, all we're talking about those things, about exciting and for the game to flow and for things like that. Why have these changes? What is the purpose of these changes, in your opinion? Why I felt these changes were necessary? And what was the purpose of it at the end of the day? We know the ultimate reason, but what they wanted to do, or what they're attempting to do? Why do you think they're doing those things?
Do you want a comment?
Yes.
All right. Well, my comment is this: every sport is about goals, and every sport is about the excitement of the goal. And when it is, you have a foul that is 10 yards back because the ball is so fast, it is really hard to bring that ball back. You're at a disadvantage. So I like the new rule that where the ball is fouled, you can play, right? Because yes, it is very more entertaining for the consumer or the customer.
Right. Because what I want you all to, in every answer you're giving me, or everything you're trying to say to me, try to remember what the position hockey was in 2012. And what they were attempting to do after 2012 would change the rules to achieve the opposite of what hockey was identified as. All these changes, what is the purpose of it? So every time you're speaking to me, talk to me in relation to that aspect. What you're seeing, what you have or identifying to see if they are doing that, they're turning back the clock to get it to where they need to get it. Right? That's the purpose of this whole thing at the end of the day. That's the purpose, underneath purposes.
We have a couple more.
Yes.
Need to attract younger players to the sport. Keely says fewer instances where umpires need to intervene, allowing the players' skill to be focused.
Brilliant. Yes. Yes.
And then Jan says, when I think of hockey versus soccer, I'm proud of the sport and the changes that have been made to keep the game moving and entertaining.
Right. Brilliant. Because at the end of the day, if you look at any successful major sport, if you look at the Sunday night football in America and the Super Bowl, right? The boxes they're taking off to be really successful. Television box, social media, participation, it might be worldwide in terms of it, but a lot of people are interested in it. They're attracting the young people, so you have sustainability in terms of the sport and growth. And what we need is more countries participating, not the tried and tested countries. Even in our continent, We have 33 national associations. How many of those 33 national associations actually participate in a hockey tournament in either the top or the minor tournaments within the continent? Out of the 33, how many participate? Think about it. How can we get them to participate? How can we do that? So within our own continent, how many people participate? And therefore, the nationals, and out of the ones who participate, how many of the national associations are very solid administratively, technically, whatever, to sustain financially, to sustain the particular sport? Out of all that, realistically, think about it. Even at the Pan Am Games, where we only allowed 8 to participate, how many of that 8 is really competitive among each other? Think about it again. So that's some of the issues that would have their problem. And you all said some of the things too. The public appeal, the complicated rules. And in addition, what the FIH wanted in line with the IOC is to make the game fan focused. Right? When we look at our sport, prior to 2012, with some of the rules that we had in place, would it have been really fan focused? Would it have been made for television? Would people, a non-hockey player, come and look at a hockey match and be entertained and enjoy it? Think about it. It wasn't made for television. It was only made for the hockey purists. People who grew up in hockey. The families who grew up in hockey, not anybody else. Could you have invited a friend over to watch a hockey match or come to the pitch and watch a hockey match? And they go away saying, next Sunday I'm coming back to watch this game? Think about it, all right? So that's some of the reasons we had the issues we have there. The other thing we need to find out, and I'm asking you all, are we slow to adapt and develop as a sport? What do you think?
Roger, it's Allison Sweeten. I'm just going to say that I've been in hockey for over 30 years, and it's like every year or two we're changing the rules. And so I think that they've done a good job of adapting and developing the sport, and it is modernizing. I think about obstruction 25 years ago. You just had to do a dance and you got the call, kind of thing. And now it's much more refined.
Okay.
And that they're doing a better job. And if you look at something like soccer, they're just having big trouble with their offsides and stuff like that right now, the VAR.
Right.
So I think hockey's doing a good job.
But think about it, a young person coming into the game, would they be attracted towards the game?
You're asking a community that watches ice hockey.
Yes,
So
I know, yes. But I'm saying at the end of the day, even the ice hockey player, he might watch another sport. He might play the sport. He might watch another sport. Right? So why is he not watching hockey as opposed to watching soccer or American football or lacrosse or whatever sport they look at? Why is he not doing that? It's not necessary to play. What are we not doing to capture those non-hockey players who could come and who could be a spectator?
because it's not on TV between
And why is it,
Olympics.
why is it not on television?
Money.
Right. So no, but you need to, those are some things I need to answer. And I think Keely there, right?
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
I'm not hearing opinion from her. I think she's very highly opinionated. I'm not hearing anything from her and the others.
Keely is actually posting on the chat, but feel free, Keely, to open your mic and challenge Roger.
Sure, Roger, can you translate that to Canadian and then I'll give you my answer?
Yes. So what do you think about it? Why are we slow to adapt and develop as a sport? not necessarily to have people playing the game, but coming to spectate an alternate sport to watch not from the primary sport. But why we not do that? What is the issue? Those are the things I'm looking at.
Yeah, the lack of TV coverage is the problem, and that was a timing issue. So when all the other major sports got entrenched with their network contracts, whether it be cricket in other jurisdictions or rugby or football over in Europe and the UK and that sort of thing, we were just late to the party as a sport. And once those other sports got enshrined, there was nothing we could do to break into that. So we need to be focusing on online offerings and streaming and building our audience there. It's a slow process. It's an uphill battle right now. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's part of it. But what I want you all to understand, we all are officials. We are stakeholders in the game. And many times, I don't want to jump the gun, but a lot of the officials, whatever, table officials, umpires, whatever officials who are in hockey, do not realize that you are a stakeholder in the game, and your presence in that game, your presence there, is to create a 360-degree to make this event, this particular game, this particular match so exciting for the non-hockey player that they will want to come to the game. And we abdicate our responsibilities. We tend to look at the players as the one who's supposed to achieve that. And by doing what we do, we tend to destroy the concept that we want to have in particular the game. I'm going to talk about some of those things. And as officials, we tend not to pick up that. We tend not to understand our role as a stakeholder in the game. We tend not to do that, right? And that's one of the big things. One of the things that, even as a stakeholder in the game, we come to the game and we don't, as an official, don't understand what the modern game takes to officiate. What we want an official to bring to the game to help us, to help the game to succeed where the other sports are succeeding, right? The official attempted to create this skill matrix of what the ideal officials should have. The skill matrix, the competencies, those things. How many of us now, as official, a national official, a domestic official, an international official, understand what are the new competencies that you, as a stakeholder in the game, should have to come towards to help develop this particular sport? The players do it quite well. The coaches and the players look at the game, look at the rules, and make the game as spectacular and thrilling as possible in terms of their skills, developing their skills, playing the games, developing the tactics, ever so often developing that. What we as officials do to develop our competence and our skills to help make the game a game to be on the cutting edge. What are the things we do? Do we know what are the new competencies we should have? There are five.
Roger, one of the comments.
Yes.
One of the comments posted is communication between players and officials.
Right. Yeah, but what do you mean by communication between players and officials? I don't understand that term. What do you mean by that?
Brandon, could you give some clarify?
Yeah, I'm just saying that to gain the players' trust, and you need to have more communication to allow the flow. Because when you're not communicating with the players, you're giving them signals, but you're not telling them, where how to say, you're not telling them like, okay, play on. You're not giving that rapport with them. Then they don't give that trust, and then therefore you get that backlash with some of the players.
But that stems from a past thinking. Yep. That the officials came from Mars and the players came from Earth. So the two should never meet. We shouldn't communicate. We should not
together. Yes.
We are the interpretation of the rules. We know what the rule stands for, and we're supposed to observe it. We're not supposed to share that information with the players. That's our domain. It's only the players break the rule then we could come in and say as umpire, and that is one of our issues. So that still permeates in some areas. There's supposed to be a dialogue even before the season starts, discussing rules, how we're going to interpret when the season starts, what we're going to be doing, what we're not going to be doing. So when we come on the pitch as a group of people, as stakeholders in the game, all of us on the same page, and we will make this particular game, that particular game, when you do that, after that match, everybody will enjoy it because you will create an atmosphere, a thrilling atmosphere for the non-hockey players, the television, whoever wants to watch that game. You understand? As a stakeholder in the game. So all of us supposed to be creating this 360-degree angle, circle, to make this game very attractive. We don't do
Another
that.
comment. Some of the answers to the specific question on skills matrix. Obvious rules, knowledge, fitness are foundational, as well as emotional intelligence.
For me, I look at every time everything is for a purpose. And if we work in silos, we will not achieve what we want to achieve. We have people who are extremely good of giving you verse and chapter of the rule book. A lot of people sometimes surprise me because they can tell me what page the rule is and what the particular rule is. But they can never tell me or explain to me what is the purpose, what is the rationale for that rule, why was that rule put in place, what is the rule attempting to achieve, and when we should use our discretion in deciding to use to blow that particular infringement. What is the purpose? All that is for a particular reason. All that is to achieve one common goal. Is to make this game exciting and thrilling. That's the purpose of the rule. That is it. And if you don't make a link between the knowledge and the interpretation of the rule to making that particular game a thrilling and exciting 60 minutes, then you will falter as one of the stakeholders of the game because the players are attempting to do it. The players are attempting to do it in their own little way through the coaches. But you as one of the stakeholders, as an umpire or official, if you're not looking at that in that light, you'll be failing your duty as an official, right? To the ultimate game, the ultimate purpose. If you look at the skill matrix that has been developed, I know how many of the officials have gone to that document. Look at the kind of things they wanted to have as a competency. How many of you all have looked at it and understand the purpose, agree, disagree, say we could take away this, maybe it might be defined better in some way? How many of us have looked at those things to understand what it is about? I can tell you few and far in between have done it. A lot of people still looking at the concept of what it is to be an international umpire, how you climb the ladder to be an international umpire, whatever panel you have to reach this particular route, what it is about. But what is the ultimate purpose? Maybe the FIs might not always be communicating those things as best as they should to the stakeholders to get it going. Maybe that might be an issue. Because that document is very comprehensive. So look at that, think about that. But the purpose for that. Right? What are some of the key rule changes to modernize the game? What are some of those things in your mind? What are some of the things?
Roger, are you asking a question or are you just
Yes. What are some of the key rule changes in the modern game?
Paula says pass.
Yes. In terms of
Offside removal.
Pardon?
Offside removal.
What does that do to assist in the overall objective of the game?
which rule are you, which rule?
The offside.
I think that's beautiful as a striker, and the ball is so.
What it does, what's the purpose of it in terms of the overall objective of hockey? To be this premier sport, to stay in the Olympics, to be one of the top sports. What's the objective of that?
More goals.
More goals?
Yeah.
More goals came about because of that?
I feel so.
Oh. I don't know. I don't know if the stats said that more goals came across because of that.
Well, I remember Roger as being an umpire in Trinidad and an international umpire, and I know how hard it is to umpire an offside at 23 yards with the speed of the ball. The speed of the ball is very, very hard to call it, and they're only now starting it in soccer. And look how difficult it is. You have millions of dollars behind a line.
Right.
There is, and a soccer ball is half as fast as a. So I don't know, man. Raj, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, but one of the things they wanted to make the game exciting and thrilling, more open, not necessarily. Goals would have been somebody it might have helped the goals, but offside didn't really, in my opinion, increase the goals as opposed to making more open, more exciting, more thrilling in terms of it. And by doing that, people felt a little more enthusiastic in watching a hockey match than being played between two 25 parts of the game. So the objective is to really, the offside, removing the offside, was to make it more open, more exciting, not cramping players, allowing people to demonstrate the skills. That was one of the issues in terms of the offside. What are the other key changes that assisted in making the game, that achieving this objective of making the game exciting and thrilling?
Roger, comments on ability to stop the ball above the shoulder.
Brilliant. What that did, how that made the game exciting and thrilling for even a non-hockey player. Remember what we want to attract? We want to attract young people to this game. We want to attract the non-hockey players, not necessarily to play, but to spectate, to watch it, to grasp when it's a beautiful thing. What was the purpose of that? What did that do? You're already hockey purists out there. Okay, here what is? Trapping the ball above the shoulder. Think about it. An ordinary person who don't play hockey, when they're seeing something like that, those little children who are very on the cutting edge, they're like wild things. They're seeing something like that, saying, my God, I want to try to do that. I want to play. I want to trap a ball in the air. I want to play the ball in the air. I want to do that. Years ago, when they restricted from doing that, people didn't want to come and play this sport because you wasn't free to hit the ball, play the ball there. The ball coming in the air, you could not play it. That wasn't making sense to a non-hockey player. Right? Why couldn't I play the game in the air? I don't want to be attracted to that sport. I might as well go and play lacrosse. I might as well go and play cricket. I might as well play something else where basketball, I could use any part of my body to do anything. I have this long stick and I can't use it. Think about it. Think about that. Right? Think about what is the objective of the changes of the rules. What about the free pass, the self-pass? The self-pass. What was the objective of that again?
It's to speed up the game, man. It's to speed up the game.
I'm going to move on from there, but I think what I want you all to start thinking and think about it. Those simple changes in the game had monumental effect on the game of hockey, right? Those simple little changes. It made it exciting. It made it, you didn't have to be starting every minute. One of our major issues of hockey in the game was the whistles. How many whistles were in the game? So when you come and watch the game for the first time,
Yeah.
2 whistles.
Yep.
So now, a non-hockey player could come and watch the game and be excited because they will see, they might know the rules, but they will see exciting things, right?
Well, they might.
But
Can I just add to
Go ahead.
that is what you're saying about the stop-start and spectators. The number of times they went away and the more questions they were asking was, well, what was that for? What was that for? What was that for? And then their focus wasn't on the game or the excitement of it. It was truly about, well, I'm not going to watch this because I don't even know what's going on. And then it doesn't make it acceptable because people don't want to try to coach it. Try and get a coach in a high school. They go, I'm not doing that. There's too many rules. I don't know how to do it.
brilliant.
They'll say I can teach basketball or I can coach volleyball because I've seen it on TV. But there's too many rules. Their perception is what was the whistle for, and they can't be bothered to watch it.
Right.
Wow.
So your gray matter starting to flow now because you all know the answers. Is you all sometimes block yourselves from because we so love this game. We are so purists. We are allowing that to bar or impede our making this game one of the top games in the world. Right? Because we so want to keep hold on these traditional things. Right? And we're not allowing new people to come into the game, not necessarily to play, but to spectate and build the sport to make it interesting. Right? So think about those things. I want you to start thinking about it. Right? Playing a ball over the shoulder, the free hit amendments in terms of where to place the free hit, the privileges of the goalkeeper has been extended. Think about how the goalkeepers used to be properly well padded and they were extremely restricted for what they can or what they cannot do in the circle. Right? They were penalized for doing things, you know what I mean, with all this sort of things on them, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
It's absolutely ridiculous, you know, like because we are in Canada, and if a goalkeeper in Canada on ice hockey stops the puck, the play is dead. But it's not a penalty. It's not a short corner. It's not something complicated. Play is dead. He was in danger. He was in danger of people coming in. He stopped the game. You know what I mean? Like it's so bizarre that I have a lot of notes here, Raj. Don't worry. You and I will talk later.
Right. So think about it. Think about the changes on where we had players, the attacking players around the circle. How many changes and frequency of changes that occurred over the years from the 2000s to now in terms of trying to get it just right to allow a free flow of play around the circle, the attacking circle, especially with stops. What is the purpose of that? Why they wanted that? Because it was becoming very, very complicated and starting to get people very, very upset of seeing a free flow as much as possible in the attacking outside the circle, right? Another thing that came into play for hockey was the video umpire. The introduction of that into the game caused what? How that helped to modernize our game in a particular way? How did that help? No. I'll tell you, don't give me the try and tested answer about to get the answer correct or the decision correct. Think outside the box. What other reason for having the video umpire in hockey? What did it cause? Think about it. Think about you watching a game with a video umpire. Something happened, you have 2 umpires and a video umpire. What does it do to you as a spectator?
Well, I don't know what it does. Sorry, somebody wants to talk? Go ahead.
Just some comments on the chat. It brings drama. It brings quiet moments for TV review. It brings suspense. The broadcasters are able to chat and discuss.
And that's it. That is it. I like the words they use. Drama, suspense. Think about it. You're not a player, but you're seeing that unfolding in front of you. You have your opinion. What does that do to you? The adrenaline starts to flow. You have a disagreement. You have and you know what was, and this is between me and you all. I want you all, you remember last year, they had a game in Canada. I don't know what part of Canada, when you're going to know it very well. Canada men versus Ireland men. And you had drama, suspense with the video umpire. Think about it. Think about it. That was like a shot around the world. What happened there? Think about what happened. And with the video umpire and the whole concept of what went on. That is what sports are made of. That is what sports are made. People were talking all around the world. Internet, social media, all kind of things you could think about went on and portrayed hockey based on that. And that was good for hockey. It was good for hockey. Right? Those are the things we're talking about. There's nothing bad. Those things are what you want to see happening. Because people will have their opinions, but they will come to the games. Right? You understand?
Yep.
These are some of the other things we're talking about. Rolling substitution, the 4 quarters of the game, the penalty stroke simplified, the penalty corner changes, removal of players with goalkeeping privileges. Think about all these rule changes and what is the purpose, what it is doing in our game, what is happening to our game when those changes have been implemented. Think about it. It's starting to bring the game to where to make it fan focused. You remember one of the criteria for the Olympics to keep a sport in the Olympics is fan focus. And if you have issues like what happened with Canada and Ireland in that game, it's fan focus. Because internet exploded, social media exploded, television exploded, papers exploded. People have an opinion, right? So all these changes is attempting to do what the major criteria, what the focus of the IOC wants for sports.
Roger.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a comment in that particular match that it brought a lot of anger, which the person Mario didn't think was good for the game. If I may, just from a Irish competitions perspective, whilst that may be so, it also, did someone mute their mic? Please, thank you. It also brought the opportunity for us to review a lot of things in terms of not just the video umpiring, but look at how effective the team managements are prepared, because a lot of this stuff is there, but it's not necessarily communicated. The coaches may not fully understand it or have done their homework. The players may not understand or know about what is in fact going to be happening. And so it created, while it may seem to be negative, it created a lot more to think more about the game and how the game evolves out of this and what improvements can be made. So it's not just a negative aspect. There's an opportunity to better the game from there. Roger.
Mario made a comment, right? Mario made a comment about it was angry. What, in Mario's opinion, so the amount, if we say we want hockey to have more people focus on this particular game, regardless of bad or good in terms of the game, you don't expect not to have things that might be disappointing in terms of the adrenaline or the anger coming up in the different people in the game, the fans. You don't expect to have that?
I don't have a problem with people getting upset. I think the problem is that there was a lack of openness by the FIH, so the Irish spectators wanted to have a better view or the same view that the video umpire had, and they weren't given that opportunity, and that caused grief.
Yeah, I'm not disputing what you're saying, but at the end of the day, you made hockey talked about around the world.
And Roger, and just to interject a little bit about that particular comment Mario made in terms of the video and being available. That in itself created a lot of backroom in review and investigations, because there are certain requirements for video umpiring and at certain levels of the game, and the questions were made that whether there are in fact enough angles, enough cameras, enough different types of equipment that are necessary to bring the best view. And so it created a lot of, as I said, a lot of review internally for how to make the situation, make the whole thing better, and avoid some of the negatives that have come. So, just wanted to lay that out.
Yeah, but I am not too worried. I'll give an example. You remember, I don't know how good the Canadians know about cricket. It's an English sport, but I should know what the cricket. Right?
Yes, they know, Roger.
Right, okay, I just want to make sure. Right now, cricket, they have a version of cricket called T20. That players now who play that version of the game are multimillionaires overnight. The traditional concept of cricket would have been the 45-day test match. It was extremely boring. Then they went into 50 overs, which was basically another day, but it was kind of boring. And they went to now to T20. And cricket coming on par with football in terms of sponsors, money, huge intakes of fans or fan base and things like that. But to arrive at that T20 concept, they went through a number of years failing at different concepts before they arrived at this particular concept. And they had negatives, there are a lot of negatives, you understand? But every time they had negatives, they learned by it and tweak it. And based on what Mario is saying, the FIH will definitely have to go back to the drawing board to deal with that aspect of the negativity that came out of that game. But it will improve thereafter. It will improve and will make it a better product for the spectators and fan base thereafter, going forward. But you're going to have a number of failures before you get the right concept. And that is part of the course we have to go through. And that is what hockey is going through right now. Think about the rolling substitutions. Think about the penalty stroke. How many people remember prior to the 90s how boring the penalty stroke is? Look at the penalty stroke now. That in itself is a game. How excited, and you sit there at the edge of the seat thinking about the game and the television, watching it and things like that. Think about those things, right? It is all centered on one purpose, right? I want you all to follow that. Let me see if we move on here again. One of the things we're looking at also is what the concept we're looking at in terms of hockey, fan base, internet, all these things. How do you transition that or move that from a concept to actual bringing it alive on the field of play to evoke that kind of thing in people's mind? To get the television, to get the sponsors, to get spectators who don't necessarily play the game, but want to watch the game and understand it. So some of the things we're doing up here, you all alluded to the fact like that, where the obstruction was so complicated years ago, and what it is now. So you're looking at less emphasis on technical breaches, field, stick, clashes, obstruction. Think about when I used to play the game. When I used to play the game at the park level, if the stick only raised an inch above my shoulder, I was blown for stick. So I just dated myself there, right? Think about that. Think what is happening now. You can give an ordinary young player, a young person, a stick, take the stick, and go and play a game. The only thing you don't have to do, don't hit the back, let the ball hit the back of the stick, but you can do whatever you want to do. Think about what used to happen before when you had to play. How many restrictions you had just to hold the stick before you went on the pitch, right? Think about that. Right? Think about the soft free hits and penalty corners. That is no longer in the game. You have to earn it. You have to fight for it. So it's a battle. It's a contest on the pitch. When you're on the pitch, it's a contest. Every going to touch that ball is a contest. That's a mini contest in the big context. Think about it. Think about you encourage players to not necessarily battle with their hands and feet, but to actually contest for the ball. What is happening? Mini contesting within the whole concept of the pitch. What does that do for television, spectators, the whole concept of our game? Think about it. And that again promotes flow and advantage. Similarly as football. Because football, they're always saying is, their game is, they're always bragging about the game because so few whistles in the game. They're allowed to play the ball, they're allowed to contest the ball. The umpire comes in only when necessary. Only when necessary, they intervene. But the game is going. Look at the modern game of what hockey is now. How near to it as football we are to football. A good umpire. Look at the Pro League games. You really have an interjection of the umpire into the game. The game is fast flowing, free flowing, contesting the ball as much as possible. Look at it. And people, even people who have never played the game, how many of you all, when the Pro League started, had non-hockey players coming to watch a game? And what was their comments after the game, watching a Pro League game? What were you hearing them saying, as opposed to what was happening in the 90s? So it's the beginning of what hockey is attempting to achieve, keeping in line with what the IOC wants in terms of sports at the Olympic level, actually fan-based, and what promotes fan-based. So think about that. What, more importantly, you as an official, I want you all to start thinking about on the field of play, whatever you're doing as official, umpiring, technical person, how does your job go towards assisting this game in improving the fan-focused concept of the game? Think about how you could do it. Think about the areas that you could chip away from where you would normally be a very police kind of attitude, and allowing excitement, adrenaline flow on the pitch, or even on the side of the pitch, within reason, of course, but to engender that concept, overall concept in this particular game. Think about it. We're going down now. So we're going to why these changes. We spoke about it, excitement and event. And we don't look at that too. This first concept there, when you're having every game that you officiate as an official should be an event. It should be an event. When you come there, you're supposed to create that atmosphere to be a part of you. Every game should be should be an event. Not the tournament, not the Pan Am Games. The Pan Am Games is an event within all the different games are events within this big event. We as officials sometimes don't even understand that. We don't look at it. We don't look at the game, the domestic game we're coming to officiate as an event, and an event to promote the game of hockey. Think about football. Every time a domestic football game is being played, it is an event. That is ingrained in the officials. We as officials don't think like that. It's a game, okay, a normal game, not an event. But think about what you could contribute to make it a good game. The action. The other concept again we don't look at too is we're having must-win games. Many times, if you look at the IPL, look at the Pro League, the Hockey Indian League at a point in time, every game had a winner, right? Had a winner. Even the Pro League game have a winner. They have some points, and that is the reason behind those things, to create an event. So every time you come to play a game, there must be a winner. That brings out the excitement, it brings out the adrenaline, it brings out fan focus. That is the reason for those things. If I come to play a game, even in the domestic league, and there's no consequence of I playing that game in terms of winning or losing or gaining or losing a point, how do I make it? How would I make it an event for a non-hockey player to want to come to the game? If we every day run of the mill thing, you don't want that happening. That is the purpose behind the concepts of the Pro League games and those kind of games now. We're creating that atmosphere, constantly creating that atmosphere, right? As officials, again, when you're officiating, you want it to be as open as possible. You're not a policeman on the pitch. Use your discretion. Use the rules that is given to you to use your discretion to make the game exciting. How can I interpret that infringement to keep the flow, keep the advantage, and as a stakeholder in the game, contribute towards the fight wants to achieve, right? It must be entertaining. So it'll be a family appeal. Think about it. Better spectator appeal, and that is based on the concept of the simplified rules. That's the purpose of the rules, right? To make it more spectator appeal, because the spectators understand why this game, why the official blew or intervened at this point in time, right? By doing that, there'll be a potential for sponsors, because where more people are gathered in your name, the sponsors will come because they get people to see and buy the product. By doing that, the television will come because sponsors want to sell their products. People there, they want more people to see their products, so therefore they'll come, they'll make more money. So everything is a flow and a follow-on based on that. And all that is because of what you as a spectator, as an official doing, in addition to what the players doing, as a stakeholder. Those are the things that you engender. That is your contribution to the overall objective of the game. Think about it. You're going to have better TV audiences, and the younger audience is going to have. Because when these youngsters seeing all these weird things happening with the game, this game I've never played before, this game I've never seen, but look what the players could do with the stick in the air, playing those balls, jinxing the ball off the stick in the air and running. They have the challenge to want to do it. Not necessarily at a national level, but a local level or a domestic level, right? Think about it. And by doing that, you're creating your hockey heroes. So see how everything follows on? Do you have any comments as we go as forward on?
Roger, before the comments, just giving you a time check. It's 1 hour plus already.
Yes.
In terms of, just think about whether we would need to, in terms of your content, whether we need to add another session, or two, so to speak.
Well, I might finish before that time. I'll try to finish before that. But I'm not getting enough feedback from the participants. How are we going to create this exciting? How are we going to create this exciting event if one of the stakeholders doing all the work and the other stakeholders not contributing to make this an event? You understand what I'm coming at in terms of we as spectators on the field of play, are we purists or we on the cutting edge to assist our sport? Do we want to be regulated to be sitting down on the back lines and just, not doing something to contribute to the development of our particular sport? Think about it. That one to start thinking about. What about some of these things we have here? Avoid tidying up complex situations. Sometimes that might be a good thing because it engenders comments, adrenaline flow. People, you send it back to the video empire, but the video empire assists the on-field empires in coming out, trying to sort out this confusion on the pitch there. What else happens? The television at night on the news, newspapers, social media, all those things happen. Think about it. The rules now have been amended to have a liberal approach to the aspect of danger. Think about the 90s, what the concept of danger was. Think about what is happening now with the concept of danger, with balls up in the air. Think about it, people trapping balls. What is happening? Balls coming into the circle, balls being shot up off the air into the goals to score goals. Think about it. All those things are what is in play to assist us in creating this atmosphere, this fan-based concept for our game, to help us to remain in the Olympics and to be one of the premier sports in the world. Right?
Yeah, man. Hey, Raj, you're talking the gospel. This is how I see it. If we can at least eliminate a foot call, a ball on a foot within the 23 to 23, at least, number one. Number two, maybe even past that. And if there's a ball on a foot in the circle, then it might be a penalty. But the flow of the game and the high sticking, there's no reason. There's no reason, especially getting older. We can see that anyone can pull a ball down from the sky. So let you stop it, you drop it, and you play. But that 5-yard rule is ridiculous.
Right.
5 yards is 15 feet, man. Like, I'm stopping a ball in the air, and no one's around me, and it's still dangerous.
Right.
It's tough.
Right. And I think the rules committee are looking at ways of trying to make it a little more liberal in terms of the approach. I think ruling should be on soon about making it a little more easier to interpret by everyone. Should be coming out soon, if it's not out already, right? So that should be coming just now. I have a story. In 1994, in the World Cup in Melbourne, not Melbourne, Sydney, I think, in Australia, Davison was the umpire's manager. Bob Davison was the umpire's manager. And he was very liberal or cutting edge in terms of the concept of rule changes. And he in 1994 wanted the penalty stroke to be changed to what it is today. And at that World Cup tournament, it was shut down. They didn't want it at all. They didn't want it. And even their maths, it took from 1994 to whenever recently was changed to change the concept of the penalty stroke. Because exactly what he was proposing in 1994, the World Cup, to do for the top team in the world to experiment with that concept is now being played, and it's very exciting to everybody. But that concept was proposed in 1994. A few years back, I think in the 90s, but it was a disaster, I think. They had a concept of not calling the knock-on in the circle, but it was very disastrous in terms of that. So that was one of the things that came into play, but it wasn't working. So they do try to attempt to make changes every so often, sometimes good, sometimes bad. Right, so look at some of these again. the concept of advantage on throwing in relation to the self-pass, and the concept of the allowing the goalkeeper now in the circle to allow to defend the goal by any means possible, except when it's not dangerous. Backing the ball away, hitting the ball up in the air, if you're on the ground, slapping the ball away, those things. So think about how exciting it is. It's a young child who is very daredevil, and they don't want to play. They don't want to play on the outside of the player, but they want to play in the player. And how exciting it is for them, not to have but to allow to express themselves in the circle as a goalkeeper. So think about it, and the kind of people you're going to attract towards the game. You understand? So those are the kind of things you have to start thinking about. And even as officials, you must sometimes allow people free flow of expressions and things like that. Look on the ways how you could either allow them to be a better hockey player by innovation, by introducing those different concepts into the game. And by so doing, you're gaining new people, new devotees to the sport, than trying to keep it so prestigious only for hockey players to do this, you know what I mean? That you try to negate adaptation, people trying to experiment and things like that. Try to understand those things, right? Now the technical...
question for you. It's Megan here. Oh.
Yes.
One of the... Oh, my mic's... Not sure if my mic's muted or not. One of the things we see in Canada, and I think also at the Pan Am level, is we have a great disparity in terms of skill between teams. So when we come to a tournament, we could have a team with those kids that have fantastic skill versus kids that have been playing for 2 months. And this is one of the big challenges I see. So how do you still have that excitement, keep things safe, encourage skill, when there is such great disparity in those levels between beginners and maybe folks that have been playing for over a decade?
Right. I think what I'm zeroing in on here is your officials and players. I think what you're speaking about is the other aspect of what has to go into what developing the sport, and that's the administration aspect of the sport, the financial aspect of the sports, and getting people who have the experts in developing some of those different skills. Because hockey, what it seems to me, and a lot of the NAs, is that with the few dollars that is there for the sport, the NAs tend to look at developing their players and the coaches who develop the skills of the players to promote the sport. And for me, one of the biggest misunderstanding for me as a hockey player and a person involved in hockey is I don't understand how NAs do not put aside some small part of their budget to develop the officials, to keep them on par with the cutting edge of the players and the coaches. Because many times I would tell coaches and players, you have two highly expensive teams playing out there, cost $1 million each in terms of input, playing the sport, equipment and things like that, and you have the adjudicator who you have not invested an iota of monies in developing them, and you're putting that person to adjudicate the outcome of your sport, of your game. Somehow that will make economic sense to me. It will make economic sense. So until the administrators of the sport understand that just as how you're trying to improve your coaches and the skill of the players, it is imperative you improve the competency of the other stakeholder in the game in order to produce the event that you want to be produced on the pitch. And That's the only thing I can see. That's one thing to think about it. What about the technical officials? What are the changes to the game that you have seen taking place in order to make it more fan-based, more enjoyable, and you're getting the thrill and the excitement in the spectators and the teams? What are the things that are done at the technical level side, table side? What you all knew or what you all think is happening there? You feel they just sit down there and just drop asleep on the table, and at the end they get a score, or would have to amend the score? What do you think is happening there? How are they contributing to that? To create that fan base concept? Do you have any emails or something coming through there?
Chats. One comment I can relate to is manage the game outside the lines.
I don't understand what that means. How does it go towards making it excited, adrenaline flowing?
Well,
What we just talk about?
I'll try and build on that manage the game outside the lines comment. Like, they are the ones that they start the show. Like, they make sure that the video's ready, they've got the in-house announcer, they're the ones that are directing the show. And then the athletes go to work and they perform.
Right.
And yeah, the technical officials, the director.
Yeah, but what other things do they do hands-on that could create that atmosphere of tenseness, anxiety, adrenaline coming out?
Roger Keeley says use personality to calm the heck out of those angry coaches.
That's one of the things you could do. Yeah. But you have to have a good rapport to do that. But one of the things they do, think about it. If some countries do not have an internet, they've got TV rights. So what other means they're going to be able to know that game going on? What do you think they're going to think? What are they going to hear? What helps them? You all know using TMS and things like that, putting in scores, doing all those different things. Simultaneously, something happens. Who get a yellow card? What minute they get a yellow card in? You all do it. What kind of field goal? What is it? How they call it? How many times do you think you're a tournament going on or a game going on? No internet, no television, and you're very interested in that game. You follow religiously on that feed coming through either Instagram or WhatsApp. Somebody who they're WhatsApping because they're getting the information from the table. Who score, who didn't score, what minute they score, who get a yellow card, those things. You don't let those follow through. You do get it. It is critical. That table is critical for creating and maintaining the accurate information and on-time information coming through. If you don't have television. And yes, according to Keeley, you have to have a good rapport with the table. Because yes, the table officials tend to want to keep the people within check, but reasonable. You want them to still express themselves. Not to be just pious monks on the table there watching and not express themselves. Yes, express themselves, create the atmosphere, create the excitement within reason. And the table official is there to control that, not to totally negate it or stamp it out, but create that atmosphere still, right? So think about those things. What about all these things? TMS and the technology automatically, you send those things around the world. You don't have to wait until the game ends and the next day newspapers will use tonight. As something happens, it's automatically updated to people around the world. So it's critical that you have accurate information going out, because not everybody will have a feedback from television. So think about it. And yet the sense of excitement you're creating, even on the social media, by those things. Right? We're on the cutting edge. You remember years ago, at the end of the tournament, some tournament officials used to have a suitcase of documents to FedEx or UPS back to FIH that had hockey in the dark ages. What's happening now? Everything is online. It's the modern way of doing things. So even if officials, the people who can't play the game because the game do not like them, but they want to be a part of the game, they can see they have a competency to be in the middle of the game. They could be sitting on the table in the middle of the Olympic final. They have never picked up a hockey stick. They like the game. And they have gone where you have been playing all these years to try to qualify for the Olympics. And they have bypassed you and qualified for the Olympics and actually say, I was a part of this Olympic final. I was a stakeholder. I was there. I created that atmosphere. Right? Because they had the competency to do that. They managed the game. That's another way of managing the game. Think about it. In addition, one of the things that is a buzzword around the world now is mixed gender officials. Hockey on the cutting edge with that, On the table right now, we don't have an all male or all female table. No, that's gone through, that's passé. Right? It's mixed gender and it's acceptable. Hockey now, the actual umpires at the Pro League have started that concept. Right? So in addition to the IOC concept of fan base, they were looking at mixed gender officials, creating, don't just have them for tokenism, but to create a good balance. Hockey is on the cutting edge with that. Easily have done it. Easily have made the transition. So that's another aspect of what we have done as a sport in terms of moving up and keeping our relevance in the international sport and modernizing ourselves. And we as officials easily have maneuvered ourselves in that because it was no big thing for us as hockey officials to have mixed gender officials in our sport. One morning we got up and there was nothing. It happened and we didn't even blink an eye because of the norm for us, right? So understand that. All right, think about that. That's happening as a norm. What about media and social media and things like that, as you talk about? Because one of the things you have to manage as table officials is the media on the pitch. And yes, you need to keep them at bay, but you also need to have them there also to generate the information that needs to be sent around the world. And that is not an easy task for you as officials to keep these eager, hungry news people and media people from getting the information. And you're doing quite well too. As a norm, you do it. You use your experience and your competencies as a sport in order doing it. So that's another plus for us as a sport, that we check those boxes that the FIH wants done, right? What about these things? How does that work? As table officials, that's something you and yourself as table officials have to get that competency. And not every sport have as wide a group of people on the pitch itself to be able to deal with some of these things and have the competency to deal with it as a norm. A lot of sports are specialists in this area, but on the hockey pitch, around that table, around that group of persons who deals with the event or that game, you have those people with that competency that developed over and nurtured over the years to deal with it, to be called upon to deal with it through the regulations. So that's another positive aspect of our game and modernizing the game and being a stakeholder in the game. I want you all to start thinking in that way when we look at our particular sport, right? What about this thing here, the regulations? Is it simple? Is it easy to follow? When you develop your regulations for a particular tournament or that particular game or we're going to, is it easy for everybody to understand that tournament regulations, or is it complicated in the main? What are your opinions about that? Even the domestic competitions in Canada, the tournament regulations, are they easy to follow? Is it complicated? What? Or what are your opinions about those things?
Anyone?
Roger, I don't think that the regulations are all that hard to follow. It's just that nobody even knows they exist. Most of the hockey public has no idea that there's a set of regulations that determine how tournaments and events, especially at the international level, are conducted. So that might help.
But why? Why? Is that a secret? It should be a secret?
It shouldn't be a secret, but it is right now.
But we need to change that, because that is part of it. Because if we are stakeholders in the game, if we want to do something to achieve our sport to be on the top level of the sport, right? Should all those things not be openly known by everyone? Because we want to achieve something. We want to keep those boxes checked out. We want to make our sport relevant. We want to make sure that we are part of making sure whatever small part we play to keep our sport at the center of what we want it to be. You understand? So start thinking about those things. It should not be a secret. It shouldn't be the tournament regulations is only for the tournament officials. And as a player makes a mistake, unknowing to what the tournament regulations say, you're pulling them up to task. That is not the purpose of the exercise. And that's not the purpose of you as a tournament official or an umpire there. That's not the purpose of it. And that is certainly not modernizing the game. Right? So think about it. So start looking at those things. What about these things here? How does you as a technical official help in trying to deal with certain aspects of this thing? Understanding these things with players especially, and players who don't understand these things. You ever look at the WADA documents in terms of for doping and anti-doping and things like that? As a table official, as an umpire, to talk to some of the players or talk to some of the other stakeholders in the game? How it's easy, how very easy it is to dope yourself unknowingly to anybody else, how easy it is. A lot of the normal things you might take going into a tournament that you shouldn't take, that you do take, how dangerous it is to your country, to your team. So you have to start as technical officials. These things you should attempt to educate yourself so you can educate other stakeholders in the game. That's part of will be a mandate. What about online training? How often do you attempt to keep up to date with what is happening in hockey around the world? Or do you think in the trends just to keep yourself aligned with what's going on? So when you come to your domestic game, those new people coming onto your game, people coming to play the sport, you'll be able to educate them, to put them on, bring them online, in line with what is going on. The thinking is going on. The concept of how the game should be played. What is the purpose? What they're trying to achieve. It's not only for the international players. It's for the domestic players, because everybody has a part to play in modernizing this game and making the game relevant for everybody else, for even the non-playing spectator. What is your job? What is your responsibility as a technical official? Think about it, right? The other thing we have an issue with is performance feedback. What is your opinion about? Do you all get that as an umpire, as a table official? Do you all get those things? Feedback. And I just say performance feedback, but feedback is anything. It might be nothing documented, but somebody talking to you or having a discussion after your game. Did you achieve the objective of the game? What's the objective going into the game? At international tournaments, an umpire has to normally sit down and have a discussion with his team of umpires going into this match. What is the game plan? What is the objective of the game? After the game, they come off the pitch. They normally have a discussion with the umpire's manager about did they meet the objective? What was the objective? You know what I mean? How they could improve. You as a table official, what is that about? Is that only get at the end of the tournament? Think about that. What is the overarching responsibility of you as a table official and as an umpire for the game of hockey? Besides your individual plan for the game. Everything should be dovetailed into what FIH and hockey is attempting to achieve in our sport. Everything should feed back into that everything should feed back into that overall thing to maintain our ranking or try to improve our ranking in the world by being fan focused as one of the major objectives. So think about those things. So when somebody talking to you about performance feedback at the end of your game or at the end of a tournament, right? What you should attempt to find out what at the end of the day, what is this overarching discussion about? Is it being discussed to see what we're doing to achieve what the FIH wants for hockey? Did we meet that? Did we do something to help us meet that? That's the objective. So that's some of the things we need to understand when they're talking to you, having a discussion with you on that. So guys, in terms of technical officials, I think some of the changes you're looking at in terms of that. I didn't hear too many comments from the tournament officials or the technical officials about their changing their roles in the game, you know. And that kind of gets me a bit frightened because they're not seeing themselves, and you only have to go by from the feedback I'm getting. Because I don't know the technical officials seeing themselves as being a big stakeholder in the game as the players, the coaches, and the umpires. And how important their role is in the game of hockey to achieve that overall success of creating that fan base opportunity. Maybe you should start thinking about it now. What role can they play? What role do they play? And the things that they do, how does it go towards or dovetail into that overall concept of fan base concept? And encouraging non-hockey playing fans to come to the game. What can they do? This is another area that people could aspire to in their overall improvement or development of the sport, or encouraging people to come into the sport. Think about it. Why these changes? And we talk about it all the time. Relevance. If we don't get non-hockey audiences, we'll no longer be relevant. You have to, when you have, genetics, you have to mix the pool, the genetic pool, as you're going to become extinct. So if only hockey purists be in the game, all the non-hockey players fans will no longer follow our sport and we will no longer be relevant. And therefore, we're going to lose money. If you look at somebody, I've looked at some recently, I've looked at the value of the money for advertisement that is around the world. It's huge, huge, into the trillions. You understand? And the information is there, the information to get it there, to get that money is there. And hockey has to start going towards that, to get that. The other aspect of it, why it changes, is because we have to remain in the Olympic family. If we are cut from the Olympic family, hockey will die. Hockey will die. So it's important that everything we do is to keep it in the Olympic family. Right?
Roger, you have 15 more minutes, huh?
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm gonna okay, what other sports have adapted to challenges? What other sports have done that? Anybody? Anybody know what other sports have done that?
Someone said curling.
Curling is one sport. Okay, yeah, and think about it,
Rugby sevens.
Rugby sevens, and you understand what they did with the rugby sevens to make it relevant? Think about it. What again? You have golf, you have lawn tennis, and think about what golf is. At the end of what golf is, one little ball, and you can just run one little ball over how many holes? And thousands of millions follow it. What about lawn tennis? Look at what they do, how relevant they make themselves. Right? And T20 cricket. T20 cricket have done it. Right? So those sports have done it. What? Am I jumping the gun? But what? Given one thing, one other opportunity that hockey is attempting to do, like those other sports to make themselves more relevant. I jump in what we're talking about. Think as we hear. What one other aspect of the game, I give the answer by saying it out, that hockey is attempting to do to make it relevant, to make it appealing as those other sports. Will anybody text and say the answer? That should flow out so fast. What other aspect of the game that hockey has attempted to change, to make it relevant, to make it big? Huh?
2 comments, Roger. Hockey Fives and World Pro League.
Excellent. But Hockey 5, but I don't know if Hockey 5 is catching on. But even look at the concept of Hockey 5 is to attract the youngsters, which is the youth. They have minimum rules. It's consistent hockey, a lot of goals, and it's must win. Think about what
The FIH, Roger, the Hockey Fives, the FIH is placing a lot more emphasis on that by introducing a Hockey World Cup in the next couple of years, and it's also an entree into other major events like the World Games and stuff. So there's a lot of focus on that, it seems.
So think about it. All the things we have spoken about that just passed there, Hockey Fives is what they're attempting to incorporate those things. Is it going to be successful? I don't know. But look at what we're speaking about. That is one of the concepts, the game they are attempting to do, beside the Pro League concept, right? So think about it. Interpretation of the game, or the rules, Instead of being restrictive, they're trying to make it more liberal. I think we spoke about that before. The receiving skill, the goalkeeping skills, players challenging decisions in certain aspects of the game. Right? That is some of the things they're trying to do to make it more exciting. Trapping the ball off the surface, contesting the ball. All those are the things to create the ingredients that we spoke about in terms of modernizing our game. Think about it. All of the things we're speaking about, we know. But we need to understand where these people are coming from and how we need to take all these things and corral them into that particular hockey game when you're officiating at. You have the information. To understand what you have and how to you as an official need to put that into play in that small, that domestic game you're going to officiate. That way experimental is. So when you go to do a game, those things you have the information have, try now to apply it into that game and make that game an event. That one game. And see how it. So think about it. This is what you want to see happening. The interpretation. The player's instinct is to play on and not to expect a whistle. That's what you want them to do. So all this liberal interpretation of the rules is to allow flow and advantage. To allow flow and advantage is for the players in their mind instinctively to not to wait for a whistle, expect a whistle, but to play on. That is the concept of you as an official, what you're supposed to try to bring to the game. Right? That is what you're trying to do. So all the interpretations we interpret in the rules of the game, or they want us to interpret the rules, that is what you want them to happen. That's the purpose of it. So think about it. If you understand that is the purpose, it is easy when you're umpiring a game to be able to interpret when you should intervene and when you should not intervene when you look at the whole outcome of the game. Right? So think about those things. We spoke about this already. The tournament, and I shouldn't put tournament, I should put game. The game is an event. The game should be an event. How the game becomes an event, we spoke about it already. You have plenty at stake. If all of us work towards this overarching opportunity for our sport, just as how football, lawn tennis, rugby 7, golf have made their game, that will happen to our game. Jobs, careers, earnings, those things will happen. It will happen. That is a fact. There's no how to call it. Emotion and passion is part of the game. If you do not have that, nobody want to come and see a game. The game become extinct. So yes, the guy who spoke about the negative aspect of the game with the Canada, New Zealand. Yes, you get it, but that's part of it. Bench behavior, within reason, table officials, you maybe need to want to allow it to happen. Because that's part of it. That's the excitement. When they leave that pitch, the adrenaline flowing, they might be angry, they might be happy. But at the end of the day, it was something for them to remember and to talk about long after the game. Right? Bad or good. So it's nothing bad, nothing untoward that happening on the pitch. Less technical understanding of the rule. And if you understand the concept of the modern game of hockey, you're fully on the way of understanding when you're reading that rule book, what it does, what you should use it for, in order to enhance your ability to become a good stakeholder with the players and the coaches into making your game, to make the game that way I want it to be, right? So what will follow? Advantage on floor, less involvement by the umpires. Yeah, it will automatically come, right? The best umpires in the world understand the concept of interfering only when it's needed, empathy with the players, rapport with the players, those kind of characteristics. They have that. We talked about rules and interpretation of rules. We talked about the soft skills. That is what they are known for. And anytime you hear them being interviewed, it's not so much about rules and interpretation, but the soft skills concept of understanding their role as a stakeholder in making sure that that game is an event for the benefit of the game and for everybody else. Understand that. So read what's them before I talk about. Managing and communication are two important ingredients of officials in the hockey game. Managing and communication. And managing means is not being a policeman. Management is like being a conductor. That is what your concept is. So try to think about you conducting and interfering as little as possible, just tweaking and communicating what you like and what you don't like. So all of us, everybody be on the same page. So that game will be an event for all the other players to enjoy. And this word, I have a problem. People don't understand the concept of this word. The spirit of the game. What is the spirit of the game? Our game. What is that? What does that mean to you all? Anybody can give me an idea what it means to you all as an official? What are we talking about that? What does that mean to you as an official? Anybody else want to comment?
Raj,
Yes.
I would like to know what it means to you, and then maybe the other people could get a concept of what it is they would like to express to you. Go
I
ahead.
think that people, I want them to try to articulate because most of the things I spoke about here, I'm sure everybody knows it. It was nothing, no rocket science, nothing new, right? But we just want to corral it in that particular perspective. And I sure they because they're in hockey, they like hockey. They've hockey for how many years? So if they're in the game and they're sacrificing a lot for this game, they understand what the spirit of the game is. So anybody have an opinion? Emailing or otherwise? Will it allow any emails coming to you all?
Raj, you're so cool, man. I understand what you're trying to say. I honestly, I have the spirit. The only reason that we are here right now is that the spirit is there, but I don't understand like exactly what the spirit of the game is. I love the game. We love the game. Like it doesn't matter, even if they change the rules, we still adapt.
Yeah, but anybody want to venture something to me? It's not a right or wrong. It's not a right or wrong. But I just need to hear what you're understanding to me. Because footballers say, what's football tagline? This beautiful game or something, sir? Right, football tagline? Right, footballers say, this beautiful game. When they say that to you, what does that bring to your mind? This beautiful game. They always say that. This beautiful game. What does that bring to your mind?
Well, I have a new tag. I say that we should call it the superior game.
Well, maybe you want to call it like that. But hockey, let's talk about the spirit of the game. Or talk about, what do you think? Will let anybody email something to you?
Nothing.
No, anybody have an opinion? Somebody help me out.
Roger, I think you'll have to. I think I think you'll have to go on. We're running out of time now.
Okay. You know, come on, hockey for us is a family sport. It's a family sport. What that draws us together is family. We could hate, we could curse, we could don't like each other, but we come back at the end of the day, year in, year out, sacrificing, spending money, and enjoying this sport. Right? Because what we want to do is to bring, when we bring our family, or we developing our family, we want them to be the best person, not necessarily a devil, but we want to create this atmosphere of good over evil and be molding our people, our families, a particular thing of life. When we play in this game on the hockey pitch, we frown on people who try to do what? To be unfair, to do unfair things, to cheat. We do everything in a spirit of goodness, you understand? And trying not to have things like drugs come into our game and things like that, right? So the concept, even our hockey, is for everything to be fair. So we try not to cheat. Even as an official, even as a player, at the end of the day, when you play this game, even if you make a mistake, you'll say, okay, I'm sorry, I make a mistake. And the players will be angry, but then they will say they understand it. They will always hold that against you. And that's the essence of our game that a lot of other games don't have. This family concept, right? And developing. So when the people come into hockey, it's from cradle to grave. That is one of our biggest things in hockey, in our sport. So if we take the other aspects of a global sport into hockey, we will surpass in theory, any major sport. Most young people of family will want their children to come to our sport because of what we stand for as a game. Even the unwritten rule, when a player comes and gets into the game, they automatically ascribe to that concept of this family kind of sport, our camaraderie. Wherever in the world we go to, we make friends and long-time friends and long-term friends, right? So think about it, right? So even the concept of rolling balls and free hits is still the essence of it. We're not going to be cheating, even if you allow the ball and the fritz not to be placed there. The whole concept is enshrined in that rolling ball, or not necessarily place the ball in the same place. But it comes to a point that you mustn't take an advantage for doing it. Even if you take an advantage, you're going to call it back. But they're allowing a certain amount of leeway because they believe in this goodness and things like that. Free place hitments, sideline hit footments, how far is 5 meters? Nobody takes a measurement. The two impacts on the pitch, they're 5 meters on the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same. But the concept of the spirit of the game is imbued in all of us as hockey players. And that is one of the good things of our sport to non-hockey players. And that's what we try to market also. So think about those things, right?
So Raj, sorry, go ahead.
We having some pressure right now under the 5 meter rules in the aerial ball, receiving the ball. When the ball is in the air, the new rules that is submitted under the rules coming out should clarify that, should relieve up the concept of danger and meters away from it. Hopefully that should work out now, right? So that should be coming up to relieve that kind of pressure. Okay, I will go into more examples. Let me see how fast I could run down this thing here. Right. So some of these things we see that happening now, we talk about it. Even the last one, the mixed gender officials at game, women and men on male games, and definitely going to have male on female games, international games. We have been doing that for hockey a long time in non-international games. So the stepping stone to the international concept is nothing new. We are accustomed doing it. So it's nothing more a major step. That is a good concept of hockey again. Right? Those things, we all know those things. We want to get away from those things. The bad part of hockey, we don't want that. We want to eliminate that. Abusive, misconduct, crowding, that is not good. That takes away from the family concept, sponsors, television. That has to be eliminated. We see those things coming in.